All right, let's talk about supplements. Specifically, let's talk about one of the most common tubs you'll find in any gym bag, branched-chain amino acids, or, as we all know them, BCAAs. You know, that colorful powder that promises to build muscle, boost your workouts, and help you recover faster. But what's the real story? Does the science actually back up all that hype? Let's get into it.
And this, right here, is the core of the issue. On the one hand, you have this supplement that is, without a doubt, wildly popular. People swear by it. But on the other hand, when you dig into the research, the scientific community is kind of saying, hold on a second, the evidence for these big claims just isn't that strong. And it's that huge gap between popularity and scientific proof that we're going to break down today.
Which leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Are you actually getting a real benefit for the money you're spending on that giant tub of BCAA powder? Is it a good investment for your fitness goals? Well, let's find out. So how did BCAAs become such a staple in the first place? Well, it really all comes down to the incredibly powerful promises you see plastered all over the labels. And let me tell you, people are buying into those promises, big time. One study looking at fitness club members found that about 37% of them were taking BCAAs. Just think about that for a second. Next time you're at the gym, look around. More than a third of the people in there are likely sipping on this stuff. That's huge. So what's the big appeal? What's getting all those people to open their wallets? Well, the claims are pretty amazing. They say BCAAs will stimulate muscle growth, improve your performance in the gym, help you recover faster, and, this is a big one, reduce muscle breakdown. They call it being anti-catabolic, which is really just a fancy way of saying it stops your body from eating away at the muscle you've worked so hard for. I mean, who wouldn't want all that? Okay, so now let's geek out a little bit and get into the science of how this is all supposed to work. At the heart of the BCAA argument is this idea that they can flip a sort of biological on switch for muscle growth. So, what are BCAAs exactly? They're a special group of 3 essential amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And that word, essential, is the most important word here. It means our bodies can't make them from scratch. We have to get them from the food we eat or, you guessed it, from supplements. Now, of these 3 amino acids, one of them is the undisputed superstar. It's the one that gets all the attention, and for good reason. That's leucine. All the research points to leucine as being the primary trigger, the main signal that kicks off the muscle-building process. Let's think about it like this. Imagine your muscle is a construction site. Leucine is the foreman. When leucine shows up after a workout, it's like the foreman grabbing a megaphone and shouting, "All right, everyone, time to build, let's go." And that shouting is what flips the switch for muscle growth. But, and this is a huge but, what happens if the foreman is screaming orders, but the trucks with the bricks, the steel, and the concrete never show up? Well, that's where the whole BCAI catchy argument starts to run into a little trouble. So, on paper, the theory sounds pretty solid, right? You take the on-switch amino acid and you build more muscle. But what actually happens when we put this to the test in real-world human studies? Let's see how the promise holds up against reality. And wow, this quote from a massive 2022 review that looked at 24 different studies, it really says it all. It found that yes, BCAAs do activate those anabolic signals, the foreman is definitely shouting, but the actual measurable benefits on performance and body composition were negligible. And negligible is just a scientific way of saying pretty much nothing. The switch gets flipped, but nothing really happens. This chart makes it crystal clear. Take a look at the bar on the left. That's the muscle-building response you get from a complete protein, like a scoop of whey. It's a huge response. Now look at the middle bar. That's BCAAs by themselves. Sure, it's better than nothing, the placebo bar on the right, but it's about 50% less than what you get from whey. You're literally getting half the anabolic bang for your buck.
And this brings us right back to our construction site. You can't build a wall, let alone a skyscraper, with just a foreman and a few specific types of bricks. To actually build muscle, your body needs all 9 essential amino acids to be present. Taking BCAAs alone is like sending the foreman to the site but forgetting to deliver most of the building materials. You get a lot of shouting, but not a lot of building.
Okay, so it's not looking great for muscle growth and performance. But wait, it's not all bad news. There is one area where BCAAs might actually have a small but potentially noticeable benefit. A little silver lining, if you will.
And that is with muscle soreness. You know, that I can't walk down the stairs feeling after a tough leg day? The research seems to suggest that if you're doing resistance training, lifting weights, BCAAs can help take the edge off that soreness. Now, for endurance athletes like runners or cyclists, the results are way more inconsistent. But for lifters, yeah, they might help you feel a little less wrecked.
All right, we've gone through the hype, the science, and the real-world results. So let's pull it all together and deliver the final verdict on BCAA supplements.
So, here are the key things you absolutely need to remember. First, and most importantly, your total daily protein intake is king. Nothing matters more for building muscle. Second, BCAAs by themselves provide a weak, short-lived signal for muscle growth. Third, and this is a big one, they are not a replacement for complete protein sources like whey protein, chicken, eggs, or beef. And finally, yeah, they might offer a small benefit for reducing muscle soreness after you lift weights. And that really leaves us with one last really important question to ask yourself. It's so easy to get drawn in by the marketing for a fancy powder, but before you spend your hard-earned cash on BCAAs, maybe you should ask, have I really, truly dialed in the one thing that actually moves the needle? My total protein intake from high-quality, whole food sources. Because at the end of the day, that's where the real gains are made.